Okay, students, we're going to talk about circles today. You did this a lot in geometry, so this should be an easy lesson for you, unless we end up skipping it, because we're running out of time and you've already done this in geometry, so you should already know how to do it. A line is tangent to a circle when it touches the circle at only one point. Remember, if it goes through at 2 points, it's called a secant. Remember that. And remember, when it's tangent to a circle, it's always at 90 degrees or perpendicular to the center of the circle. You should remember that from geometry. Our writing equation for the circle at the end points of the diameter are at these 2 points. Well, to get the center, we got to take the midpoint formula. You did this in geometry. Add the x's divided by 2. We just did midpoint formula. Lesson 1 of this section, of this chapter. So 6 minus 4 is 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 5 minus 3 is 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, so 1, 1 is my center. Remember, it's always general equation of a circle is x minus h, quantity squared, plus y minus k. Quantity squared equals r squared. And you should remember opposite, and square roots. We pounded this into you in geometry class. Get the center and the radius of the circle. Well, now we're plugging it back in. So the opposite of 1 is negative 1. Opposite of 1 is negative 1. So the center goes on the left side, and now we got to find the radius and square it. So the radius goes from the center to one of the points on the circle. So I can do the square root. Well, if I don't do the square root, then it's going to be r squared. Okay, so if I leave off that, just how far is it from 1 to 6? That's 5 squared. How far is it from 1 to negative 3? 4. Square it. And I take the square root, that would be r itself. So if I took off the square root and just left it like this, it would be 5 squared, which is 25, plus 16 equals 41. That's r squared. If I wanted r itself, I would take the square root. R would be square 41. But remember, this side, it's r squared. Whenever I square anything, I take off the square root. So 41 is radius squared, and there's my answer. Okay. Here, they use the distance formula. We just did it in our head up top here. Okay, remember they solve for r, and then I have to square it. When I square it, then it's the 41 right there, as we just did. Okay, now if you don't like using that distance formula, remember you can use Pythagorean theorem. If you want to plot the points, draw a right triangle. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Let's do number 5. So we haven't dealt with a tangent one. We didn't do one of those in geometry. So the center, that I already know that the left side, it's x plus 4, the opposite of that, squared, plus y plus 7, the opposite of that, squared. Now I need to find r and square it. Well, it says tangent to x equals 2. X equals 2 is a vertical line. So if I have negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, negative 4, 7, and it's tangent at x equals 2, then that means x equals 2 is right there. And this is my center. So how far is it from there to there? That'd be my radius. So from negative 4 to positive 2 is 6. That's r, but then I have to square it. So 6 squared is 36. Okay. 8 through 10 there, just like the example we did. Okay, right up there. All right, backside. Let's see. Okay, so this is dealing with completing the square, as we did last year in geometry also. I put my x's together, my y's together, a constant on the other side. If it's not already in that format, I have to complete the square. There's my plus blank, and they did 2 blanks for each of those, but you could just do 1 blank. Whatever you add to one side, you add to the other. So you see that same setup. How do you get that plus blank? It's half of b squared. We just did it before. 0.5 be squared. So half of 2 is 1 squared is 1. Half of 4 is 2 squared is 4. I added 5 to the right, so I must add 5. 5 to the left, so I must add 5 to the right. 11 plus 5 is 16. And then I have y plus 1, same sign as that, or x plus 1 quantity squared, and y plus 2 quantity squared. Okay, so that is all review from geometry. You did a ton of that if you're in my class last year. Okay. If you need another video on completing the square for center of a circle, I can always send you that. Okay. Find the center of the radius. Obviously, the center is the opposite there, and the radius is the square root right there. Okay, and then you plot those points and graph it. Down here in 5 and 6, you got to complete the square first and then do it. Okay, that does it for this one. 6 minutes.